for her own safety. There is no other reason, and reasonable people know it. The Mexican government is simply not strong enough to control the drug merchants. And now many Mexicans themselves have had enough. They are protesting in the streets. So I do expect President Trump to take direct action against the drug cartels in Mexico. And it will be violent. And Sheinbaum should back it. If she doesn't, it'll happen anyway. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Mail, Robert Pitch, Columbiana, Alabama. Hey, Bill, I get irritated when I hear you and others say the immigration system is broken. No immigration system would be able to absorb 15 million people in 4 years. The system is fine. This system is not fine. Part of the reason is what you just said, that we've been overrun. But the 1952 law is obsolete. Got to be much more specific in asylum, in punishment, in registration, on and on and on and on. Peter Melville, Salem, Oregon. President Trump continues to imply or actually say foreign exporters pay U.S. tariffs, such as we're bringing in so much money or we're hurting them so bad, which of course is untrue. What's untrue about it? USA is bringing a lot of money from tariffs. Tons of money. That's a fact. I was going to say Jack, but your name is Peter. David, concierge member. David has a direct line to me. I hope you consider concierge membership. Great Christmas gift. Bill, it's not just the current president of Mexico who's afraid of the cartel. It's been this way for the past 60 years. In fact, I can't ever remember a time in history when the Mexican government wasn't corrupt. Pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. PK, another concierge member. I am a boomer sooner. That means he's from Oklahoma. I know more years are behind me than in front of me, and I've accepted that. I'm happy with my life. I regret very little, and I will leave it someday knowing I made the world a better place. I am so happy to hear that, PK. I wrote a column, BillO'Reilly.com Sunday column on baby boomers not wanting to die. I don't want to die, but I'm not afraid of it. PK, we put in our time. In a moment, something you might not know. Imagine getting your medication from a pharmacy that actually makes your life easier. No more tracking down a doctor or waiting in line. All Family Pharmacy handles it all for you. Consultations, prescriptions, fulfillment, and shipping. As we head into the holidays, fall allergies, sinus infections, cold and flu are all around us. Now's the time to stay ahead. All Family Pharmacy is by your side, helping you prepare with your meds for the entire family. From antibiotics to antivirals and ivermectin to blood pressure meds and more. Whether it's for daily use, emergencies, or trusted off-label options, they make it simple. Licensed doctors review every order for safety, and everything ships right to your door. So please visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Code BILL10.
If you're worried about losing your health insurance through Medicaid, we have great news for you. New government regulations have expanded the Affordable Care Act. And now you may qualify to get health insurance for you and your family through the Affordable Care Act. Call now to learn if you qualify. We know the healthcare regulations regarding Medicaid, and we've helped thousands of people find quality, affordable health insurance. Plus, all our research is free to you. So call us. With just one call, we'll shop from hundreds of different insurance companies to find you the right affordable health insurance plan. So if you're worried about losing your Medicaid insurance, call right now. Speak with a licensed agent and find how you may qualify for a new health insurance plan.
800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. That's 800-479-0931. Paid for by the Health Insurance Hotline.
Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. We are nearly 1 year into Donald Trump's second term, and his retribution tour is well underway. Unlike most past presidents who viewed conflict as a political matter, the current commander-in-chief takes things rather personally. Now, there is controversy about how Mr. Trump is treating some people who have hurt him in his past. Here's a quick rundown of the president's retribution list. John Bolton, former national security advisor, split with Trump during the first term and then called the president, quote, stunningly unfit for office. He has since been indicted on 18 counts related to mishandling classified information. James Comey. Donald Trump accused the former FBI director of botching the DOJ's investigation into the Russian collusion hoax. Comey also documented his interactions with Mr. Trump, then apparently leaked that information to the New York Times. In September, James Comey was indicted on 2 counts of making false statements to Congress. Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, led the prosecution of Donald Trump for allegedly inflating the value of his real estate portfolio. That $500 million civil case was eventually dismissed by an appeals court. Last month, Ms. James was indicted on 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count of mortgage fraud, criminal statutes. Former special counsel Jack Smith, the man behind the investigation of Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, was subpoenaed by Congress to address, quote, prosecutional misconduct and constitutional abuses. Wow. Other notable names, FBI Director Christopher Wray, Chris Christie, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. All are under some scrutiny. Many Americans are frightened by these investigations. This is payback by Mr. Trump, but it may be righteous because some of these people are very shady. The courts will decide. Back in a moment. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or have no warranty, listen up. Car Shield as a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan is now available to the public. You can save out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Please call Car Shield now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. 800-881-0365 for a free quote. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. So please call for your free quote. 800-881-0365. 800-881-0365. Hey, what do you have to lose? 800-881-0365. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Bernie Bennett in Washington. The U.S. trade deficit fell by nearly 24% in August as the Trump tramp down works.
The Commerce Department report, coming 7 weeks late because of the government shutdown, shows the gap fell from $78.2 billion in July to $59.6 billion in August. At a U.S.-Saudi investment summit, President Trump thanked an audience of foreign investors, saying the tariffs are bringing factories and jobs to the U.S. Bill Adams, chief economist at Comerica Bank, writes that, quote, August's smaller trade deficit will be a tailwind for third quarter real GDP, since it means that more U.S. expenditures were directed toward domestically produced goods and services rather than foreign ones, unquote. Jennifer King, Washington.
President Donald Trump said Wednesday that foreign firms must be allowed to bring in international workers to help build U.S. factories and train American workers, pushing back on criticism from his Republican base. The president said at a U.S.-Saudi investment forum that some of the highest profile executives in tech and beyond, he says he's trying to explain to his MAGA supporters about the need to extend visas to the highly skilled foreign workers.
They're unbelievable patriots, but they just don't understand. Our people have to be taught. This is something they've never done. And we're not going to be successful if we don't allow people that invest billions of dollars in plant and equipment to bring a lot of their people from their country to get that plant open, operating, and working. I'm sorry.
Congress is sending the president a bill to compel the Justice Department to make public its case files on the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, a potentially far-reaching development in a years-long push by survivors of Epstein's abuse for a public reckoning. The Senate passed the bill today, and now it'll be heading for the president's desk. President Trump says he will sign it. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-2341. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-2341. That's 800-575-2341. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have rain chances Thursday and Friday. Friday looks like the more widespread day, but still a chance Thursday, and some of it could be heavy, especially south of St. Louis in the morning hours. So watch for some heavy rain, mainly south in the morning, low 47. In the afternoon, a few scattered showers and a high of 60 degrees. Friday, more widespread rain, heaviest in the morning to early afternoon and a high of 60 degrees. Still a few lingering showers possible into the evening, but it does dry out for the weekend. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Chris Arps here, and I'm thankful for my relationship with Christ, my wonderful wife, Becky, and the opportunity to speak to the great listeners of News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo, and as we approach another holiday season, I am thankful that my family continues to be happy and healthy. Oh, and I'm also glad I don't work for George Soros.
News Talk STL, celebrating family and friends this season of Thanksgiving. Brought to you by Candici's, Parlor Donuts, and Amis Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. Fraud and scams can strike anyone. My office works to ensure that Missouri is free from deception and unfair practices. Last year, we handled over 65,000 consumer complaints and returned more than $400 million to Missourians. If you've been a victim of fraud, call 800-392-8222 or visit ago.mo.gov.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
News, analysis, opinion.
He lines up 4 deals with countries.
Trump signed trade and mineral deals with Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam.
He's a great leader. 101.9 and 94.1.
Number 1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
we did what was necessary. I hope it brings comfort to the victims and the survivors. Very important to us. There's some heroic women who stood forward, and of course, as we've said many times, there's some estimates, many as 1,000 victims of the Epstein evils. A lot of them have not had their identities, revealed, and that's their prerogative. We've been wanting to be very careful about making sure they're not unmasked and they don't have to suffer more harm. So I pray that is the outcome of this. But the Congress has spoken. The president will process that, and there's no delays in this at all. I mean, it's moving forward.
406, and welcome into the Wednesday edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It is November 19th, 2025, and there you have the Majority Leader John Thune talking about the unanimous consent.
Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson. No, that was that Mike Johnson?
That was Speaker Mike Johnson.
Oh, I thought that was Thune. Okay. Speaker Mike Johnson talking about the passage unanimously, 427-1 of the Epstein file release vote. There's a better name for it, but that's what I'm calling it. It immediately went over to the Senate. They didn't even vote on it. They agreed by unanimous consent or voice vote. So that means that this bill will be heading over to the president's desk for his signature, probably very, very soon. I'm sure this week. As I said yesterday, this has been one of the fastest turnarounds I've ever seen in politics. You don't see a lot of bipartisanship here in Washington and around the country and other state legislatures. There is a big impasse between Democrats and Republicans. But when it came to this, it was unanimous. And I think a big part of that, of course, was Democrats are trying to use this for political advantage. They want to paint Trump as somehow being involved with these Epstein files. And I also think that they are going to try to use this next year in their election. So I think it's going to be the Democrats' playbook is going to be corruption, high prices, affordability, and Epstein. They have already given away the playbook already. All right, we've got a big show today. I might as well get these guests, let you know who we've got. Of course, it's Wednesday, so that means we speak with Zack Smith. He's our senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court reviewing a Trump policy of turning away asylum seekers at the border. Of course, one of President Trump's main focus in his second term is eliminating illegal immigration, closing down our border, trying to bring order back to the streets of some of these Democratic cities, which have turned into complete chaos. We'll talk to Zack Smith about that and other things that are before the Supreme Court at 424. Chris's Corner, 443. Be careful what you wish for. And I'll give you a little hint that has to deal with the Epstein files. The Democrats, of course, have been just all over this, trying to make hay out of this, trying to make this a political issue. And while they have done that, some of their own have gotten caught up in this scandal. We mentioned yesterday Larry Summers, who was the former president of Harvard. Also, he was the Treasury Secretary underneath Barack Obama. He announced yesterday that he is going to step away from public life for a little while. And then there is another announcement regarding Larry Summers today. We'll talk about that in Chris's Corner. 507, my partner, Tim Jones, he is in beautiful Palm Beach, California today. He's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. He'll have a speaker's stump speech. And then at 524, we're going to speak with Shawn Carney. We've had him on many times. He's the CEO of 40 Days for Life. We're going to talk about Silicon Valley's eugenics obsession. It proves a moral vacuum in tech. That's an amazing story here. Some of Silicon's most powerful billionaires are working to genetically engineer, quote unquote, better babies. Sounds something out of Hitler's Third Reich, I know. We'll talk to him about that at 524. And Chris, and at the end of the show, we're going to discuss, we have something light as we always do. And I'm going to tease it. I'm going to ask the question, was Ms. Piggy on Air Force One recently? So I will disclose what that is more about at the end of the show at 524. A lot of big news today. One story that came out yesterday, Joey kind of reminded me about it yesterday. I didn't really read that much about it, but apparently Catherine Hanaway, who was Missouri's attorney general, the state of Missouri won a huge multi-billion-dollar settlement against China Apparently, China was hoarding materials during the pandemic. What do they call that, Joey? PPP, isn't it?
PPE.
PPP.
Are you down with OPP?
Are you on with OPP? They were hoarding that, and apparently the state of Missouri sued them, won a huge judgment, and Catherine Hanaway is discussing how the state of Missouri can collect on that huge judgment. Some of the suggestions were that, panda bears are from China, from that area, and they lend them to different zoos here in the United States and probably around the world. There have been suggestions of, I guess we're not kidnapping them, we're taking them and using them to try to pay off of help China pay their judgment back to the United States. I tell you what, I think would be a great idea, and this has been a part of many campaigns here in Missouri lately, is the fact that the Chinese government owns a lot of land in the United States, and they own land by Whiteman Air Force Base. Of course, that's where our stealth bombers are housed. And a lot of folks are saying, why don't we just confiscate the land that they have around the Whitman Air Force Base? They have purchased a lot of farmland, and a lot of people are worried about China having control of our food supply. And so that is a suggestion to confiscate some of that farmland and sell it and recoup some of the money from that to help China pay off their $45 billion debt to the state of Missouri. That's a question I think I'm going to ask Zack Smith about it. 424. Is there a precedent for that? And how many other states have won judgments against China and have actually received money? So that is another big story. That was yesterday's story, but we didn't cover it yesterday. Another big story. And those of you who have 401ks and retirement plans, and you've noticed that stock market has not been doing too well the last few days. People are concerned about the quote unquote tech bubble. NVIDIA is the most powerful. It is a powerful company, but it's also one of the the richest company in the United States, I think, in the world. I think it's worth $2 or $3 trillion. A lot of the tech stocks, AI stocks have been bidded up because that probably is where the future is, and people see that. But a lot of times in investments in the stock market, people bid up prices, and really there's not that value there for what the prices are being bid up to, and they have what's called a bubble. And a lot of folks are worried that the AI tech bubble may burst, and that would do sizable damage to the United States economy and probably the world economy. When we were at the Royal Bank's economic forecast breakfast yesterday, the former economist for the Federal Reserve talked about that. He actually put up slides talking about that if the AI bubble did collapse, their models say that the stock market could lose 53% of its value in one day if that drops. I mean, that's on the scale of what happened in 2008 when we had the big sell-off in 2008. So, reason I bring that up, NVIDIA is due to release its earnings at the end of the Dow Jones Industrial Session, which on the East Coast it is over. And so people are waiting with bated breath on if NVIDIA, are they still have good earnings? Have they dropped off a little bit? And that is a big precursor for many folks of how the market is doing. There is concern that the economy is slowing down some. People are concerned about prices, affordability, the word that we're going to hear over and over and over. President is aware of that, and many believe that's why he and Secretary Scott Bessent have cut some of the tariffs on everyday goods that come from South America, like orange juice, and they're trying to import more beef into the United States, bananas, things of that nature, try to lower the food bill for Americans. So stock market's been doing very, very well the last couple of years, especially since President Trump has been in office, but the last few days has not gone well. And as I've said, people are worried about the economy slowing down. The other big story today, we could have a major peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. The White House announced today that Army Secretary Dan Driscoll is going to be accompanied by 2 four-star generals and other senior U.S. military officials. They are expecting to fly to Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, to meet with President Zelensky. There is not a lot of details that have been released yet. The president has said that there is a 28-point peace plan that is on the table that's similar to the peace plan that was put on the table for Gaza between Hamas and Israel. There are some details that have been released for this peace plan. A couple of them. One of them is the framework plan would, quote, require Ukraine to cede the remainder of the eastern Donbass region, including land currently under Kiev's control, and cut the size of its armed forces by half. I'm not a military expert. I'm not an expert on Ukraine, but if you hear some of the rhetoric that Zelensky has been saying during the course of this war, he has said that Ukraine is not going to give up any of their land. They are a sovereign nation and shouldn't have to give up land in order to have peace. So we'll see how that part of the plan works. The other part of the plan calls for Ukraine to abandon key categories of weaponry, would include the rollback of U.S. military assistance that has been vital to its defense. Possibly that could potentially leave the country vulnerable to future Russian aggression. That's been one of the sticking points for Ukraine, that if they do agree to a peace deal, they want to have some type of security guarantees from the United States and from Western Europe for their security. And the third part of this 28 plan that's been released is that no foreign troops would be allowed on Ukrainian soil, and Kiev would no longer receive Western long-range weapons that can reach deep inside Russia. Now, as I read these three parts of the framework, they seem to be more geared towards Russia than they are to Ukraine. But as President Trump has said many, many times, along with J.D. Vance, Ukraine doesn't have the muscle. They don't really have the weaponry to fight Ukraine or fight Russia unless the United States and Western Europe helps them. I think it's very curious that this peace plan has come onto the table now that we have these Epstein situation going on. Some folks would maybe say the president is trying to get the Epstein affair off of the front pages of the newspapers and in the news, and have the news focus more on this Ukrainian peace deal. This war has been going on for 3 years. Estimates are that 1 million people have either been killed or injured during this war. So that's some of the speculation. And a lot of folks are also speculating that this is a good time to enforce this peace plan on Ukraine, because last week it was announced that there is a major scandal within Zelensky's government. The person has resigned for bribery and for theft. And so they are in a weakened position because of that weakened position, because of the bribery in Zelensky's administration, that this may put leverage on them to accept this peace deal. So we will see how that situation goes. The president and the administration are suggesting that we could have an end of this war by the end of the month, and even possibly this week. So, we shall see. Can't wait for tomorrow to speak to our Heritage Foundation fellow, Steve Bucci, to get his view on this peace deal. And it's pretty good timing to have this come out when we have our military expert, Steve Bucci, on tomorrow. And of course, Mondays, we speak with Senator Jim Talon, our foreign affairs and military expert as well. And we'll get his views on that as well. All right. Coming up, we're going to speak with Zack Smith, senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. A lot of big news in the Supreme Court, especially the Trump policy of turning away asylum seekers at the border. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have rain chances Thursday and Friday. Friday looks like the more widespread day, but still a chance Thursday, and some of it could be heavy, especially south of St. Louis in the morning hours. So watch for some heavy rain, mainly south in the morning, low 47. In the afternoon, a few scattered showers and a high of 60 degrees. Friday, more widespread rain, heaviest in the morning to early afternoon and a high of 60 degrees. Still a few lingering showers possible into the evening, but it does dry out for the weekend. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Well, folks, you can't escape it now, can you? We are firmly within the holiday season, but have no fear. Newstetter's Fine Jewelers is here. Tim Jones here to tell you about my personal awesome experiences I have had at Newstetter's. Have been going there for years. Richard Newstetter and his team always take great care of me, my friends, my family, anybody I refer to them, and they'll definitely take care of all y'all out there in News Talk STL Nation. Newstetter's is located right in the heart of it all, 2961 Daughtery Ferry Road. That's just 2 miles west of 270. Want to check out their stuff before you head in there? WowDiamonds.com is Newstetter's website. That's WowDiamonds.com. Yes, they have extraordinary diamonds, both mined and lab grown. They've been in business here in our region since 1961. Richard is a master engraver. He can create legacy items for you and your beloved family members. They've got everything: diamonds, wedding and engagement rings to put those diamonds into, awesome hand engraved items like I mentioned, watches. Picked up a great watch last year for Christmas from Newstetter's. I absolutely love it. It's a Belova, the Frank Sinatra line. They've got great men's and women's watches. They do jewelry repair. They do appraisals. They do pearl and bead restringing. They do everything from top to bottom. Great place to go. You can set up your wish list at Newstetter's. Ask them about that. They'll be happy to help you with that, so you don't have to worry about what the heck to buy next for your loved ones. You'll have it right there in the store. Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, 24/7 at WowDiamonds.com. That's Newstetter's Fine Jewelers at WowDiamonds.com.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Going to the city. Got you on my mind. Country sure is pretty.
Supreme Court is now set to review an immigration policy adopted during the first Trump administration. Federal law requires that the government process asylum seekers who arrive at ports of entry. But in 2018, the first Trump administration had border agents turn them away before they stepped foot on American soil. There were several lawsuits filed as a result. Most recently, an appeals court sided with migrants, and the Trump administration appealed to the Supreme Court. The court will hear arguments next year.
426 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and we're going to discuss that case along with many others with our regular Wednesday guest.
Oh, it's all perfectly legal. You are out of order. You're out of order. You're out of order. The whole trial is out of order.
Zack Smith, legal fellow with the Heritage Foundation.
You know, I ask you a lot of predictions. Can you predict what the Supreme Court probably will do with this action?
Zach, Joey said you sounded like you're a little under the weather. So before we get started here, I just wanted to ask, are you okay?
I'm doing okay, Chris.
Oh, yeah, you are under the weather.
Something's going around, but it's I'm still above ground and doing okay.
I didn't think people got colds in Florida that live in Florida.
Well, it's that, I traveled to New York and California recently, so I'm sure I picked up something there.
All right. So after this conversation, make sure you drink some tea, get your voice in order, because we're going to need you well for next week, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll do my best.
All right. Supreme Court has agreed to decide whether federal law allows immigration officials to turn away foreigners who present themselves at border crossings and request asylum. That clip there said that this came into effect in 2018. But especially with COVID going on in 2019 and 2020, I would think that this would have been a very good idea to make sure that the virus is not spreading among our country. Now that we're no longer in a pandemic, is this, in your legal opinion, legal to still do this?
Well, the Trump administration is certainly arguing that it is. They've made some very good arguments, I think. But essentially, this comes down to a question of statutory interpretation. The court, as you heard in the clip, is being asked to decide what does it mean to arrive in the United States, because the statute says that once someone arrives in the United States, they're then eligible to receive asylum. And so what the claims in this case, what the petitioners are saying is that essentially because Border Patrol agents or others manning those border crossings are not allowing them into the United States physically, they've constructively arrived in the United States for purposes of being able to claim asylum. Now, John Sauer, who represents the government in this case, he says that defies the plain textual meaning of the statute, how anyone would understand the term arrive in to apply. That's essentially the same argument that the dissenting judge at the Ninth Circuit made as well. So like with all these cases, Chris, we'll have to wait and see how the justices ultimately rule.
Boy, Zach, it's too bad that you're married. I'm sure all the young ladies out listening with your deeper, sexy voice there would want to give you a call or something there.
Have a voice and a face for radio now. So the two go together very well, I guess.
All right. We've talked about this case many times, about the oral arguments have been set for January 21st on whether the President Trump can fire Lisa Cook. Give us your thoughts on that, and what's this overall case about?
Yeah, so I think to understand what's happening in this case, we also have to look at a case that's going to be argued in December as well, Trump versus Slaughter. Now, in both of these cases, the Lisa Cook case and the Rebecca Slaughter case, essentially the president is arguing that he has the power to remove these officials from office, even though Congress has said that he can't. They put in place what's known as for-cause removal restrictions, essentially saying that these officials can only be removed for misconduct in office, things like misfeasance, malfeasance, abuse of office, those sorts of things. Now, there's a case from the 1930s called Humphrey's Executor, where FDR tried to remove a federal trade commissioner he disagreed with, and the court said he couldn't do it. The court said that Congress could constitutionally place these restrictions on removal without violating the Constitution. Now, ever since that opinion was issued, it's been controversial. Many scholars rightly think the court got it wrong in that case. And so essentially, what the court is being asked to do is to decide whether Humphrey's executor should be overruled. Now, the same logic should apply to both Rebecca Slaughter of the FTC and Lisa Cook at the Federal Reserve, but the court has indicated in some past cases they may treat the Federal Reserve differently as kind of a unique entity. So it'll be interesting to see if the arguments in the Slaughter case will preview or foreshadow kind of what will happen in Lisa Cook's case that next month in January, or whether the court will try to draw some distinction between these other so-called independent agencies like the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the CFTC, you name it, and the Federal Reserve, which the court has always been a little reluctant to intervene in issues involving the Federal Reserve.
Speaking with Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org. A couple of cases will be heard, Zack, before this case on January 13th. These cases center on whether states can block transgender men, from playing in women's sports. Do we know any way that the court is leaning on this? We know where the liberal justices are going to be, but have the more conservative justices, have they kind of telegraphed which way they would lean on a case like this?
Well, you know, I always say, Chris, my crystal ball is cloudy, as always. But look, I think, if I were to make any predictions, I would certainly think that the states that have enacted these laws, basically protecting women and women's sports from having men play in them, that they are on solid footing, constitutionally speaking. The argument from those challenging those laws in Tennessee and Idaho and elsewhere are essentially saying that those laws violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, which I think is a tough sell for any originalist or textualist judge on any court. And I think the justices on the Supreme Court who are originalists, who are textualists, would probably view it that same way.
Another LGBT related case. This is not before the court, Zach, but this was a couple of weeks ago. The DOJ has been weighing restricting firearms for people with gender dysphoria. I want to get your opinion on, would something like that be constitutional?
Well, I haven't looked too deeply at this specifically, Chris, but in general, the courts have upheld restrictions, temporary restrictions on those who suffer from mental illness or other conditions. If you're a chronic drug user, you may be able to temporarily be disarmed, not eligible to own a firearm. And so I think if you look at gender dysphoria as a mental illness, then there would be an argument that while you're suffering from that mental illness, that you could lawfully be restricted from owning a firearm. Now, there are very real debates over who determines whether you have a mental illness, over what type of procedures you may be entitled to, whether you can be permanently disarmed based on that finding of a mental illness, or whether it can only be during the kind of the active stage of the mental illness. So these are issues and debates that are playing out across the Second Amendment community in many other different contexts as well, not just this very specific issue involving gender dysphoria, but these are topics playing out broadly across the lower federal courts about whether and when individuals may constitutionally be disarmed.
Former FBI Director James Comey, of course, was in court today in Alexandria. His defense team is trying to get the charges against him dismissed. Andrew McCarthy, the former Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney, I think assistant, he wrote in an article in National Review last week, Zach, that the cases against Letitia James and Comey would probably be dismissed. I know one of the arguments that Comey's lawyers are using is that the attorney that's prosecuting him is in the role illegally. And they're citing that because she is basically taking over from someone else that was temporary, that the term didn't restart, that they're adding the first person onto her tenure, and that you add those combined, meaning that she has gone past the legal requirements to serve in that position. Is that I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's certainly an interesting argument. It's one we're seeing play out more and more today. But look, if we step back, Chris, the way that U.S. attorneys are appointed is supposed to be fairly straightforward. The president nominates them with the advice and consent of the Senate. If the Senate confirms them, then that person is supposed to step into the role and become the chief federal law enforcement officer for that district. Now, unfortunately, what has happened is because Democratic senators have blocked many of these U.S. attorney appointments, they haven't returned the blue slips. Basically, there's sign off on many of these appointments. Many of these slots, it's impossible for the president to get them filled with his own appointees going through the normal course. And so you have a lot of acting U.S. attorneys, you have a lot of interim U.S. attorneys. And what many people don't realize is that if the vacancy is there for a certain period of days, district court judges can actually appoint the U.S. attorney, which is very problematic, I think, from a separation of powers perspective. But in this particular case, you have those same arguments playing out. You have the DOJ saying that Attorney General Bondi has stepped in and essentially ratified many of Lindsey Halligan's actions on the back end. So this will be a very interesting argument to watch, definitely. But I think fundamentally, what people need to realize is that many of these issues around the appointment of U.S. attorneys, many of these issues around whether they were validly appointed, all of that goes back to the refusal of Democratic senators to have basically confirmed the president's selections for many of these vacancies and go through the normal course of order in confirming the president's nominees.
Speaking with Zack Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Zack, President Trump's lawyers have filed an appeal. They're asking the Supreme Court to review the verdict in the $5 billion civil case that he was found sexually abused and defamed writer E. Jean Carroll. I know you don't make predictions, but is this a case that you think the court will take this up and review this?
I don't know if the court will take it up and review it, Chris. They should take it up and review it. I think there are a number of irregularities in this case that are very problematic. They're very troubling from a rule of law and good governance perspective. So we'll have to wait and see what the court decides to do with it. The one case I will mention that I think many of your listeners may find interesting today, I don't know if you saw, but the court in Texas recently struck down Texas's ability to redraw their congressional maps.
Yes.
And the reason this case drew my attention is I encourage all of your readers, go look at Judge Jerry Smith's dissenting opinion in that case. It's one of the most blistering dissents I've ever seen written by a very respected judge who's been on the bench for 37 years now, I think. And he is essentially accusing one of the other judges who wrote the majority opinion of essentially judicial misconduct, saying that the way he went about writing this opinion, how he behaved in this instance, is very problematic, very troubling, and I think should really be a wake-up call to so many of us that a respected judge like Jerry Smith would feel the need to come out with such a very direct, very straightforward criticism of one of his colleagues.
Zack, speaking of congressional maps, federal judges in North Carolina are hearing arguments seeking to block the state's newly redrawn congressional map. This map is called a black belt because it has a majority black district and has elected a black representative. Is this the case that you believe we're probably going to see before the Supreme Court?
I don't know. I think we have to wait and see what happens in the Louisiana versus Calais case. I think that'll really give a signal in a lot of these redistricting cases about how things should proceed going forward. Now, you know, we've talked about before, states can gerrymander based on partisan purposes, trying to get the most voters of one party, the most beneficial, configuration possible. But what states cannot do is they cannot racially gerrymander. They cannot gerrymander based on the race of the voters. But all of this is going to play out across many states that are seeking to redistrict. I think another interesting question that courts are having to confront and will have to confront more frequently is whether districts have to be drawn based on the total population within those districts, or whether states can use only the citizens within those districts to draw the districts based on that citizen age population as well. So there are a lot of issues percolating up through the courts related to redistricting, gerrymandering. And so I say stay tuned, Chris. I think we'll hear a lot more about all of that in the coming weeks.
Zach, Republican Senator John Curtis and Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, they've introduced a bill called the Algorithm Accountability Act. It would amend Section 230. It's a bill requiring social media platforms to, quote, exercise reasonable care in designing, training, testing, deploying, operating, and maintaining recommendation-based algorithms to prevent foreseeable bodily injury or death. If we see this bill pass, and it's got an uphill journey, could this be the end of Section 230? And give us a quick primer on Section 230.
Yeah, Section 230, it's basically a federal law. It's kind of known as the law that formed the basis of the current internet. It essentially says that carriers can't be liable for the content that's posted as long as they're not engaged in some type of content moderation. And so essentially this is what allows many websites, other domains that post content to not be held liable for some of the very harmful things that are posted on the internet. So that's why you see many of the big tech companies fighting very vigorously to keep Section 230 in place. Now, obviously, as you mentioned, AI adds a new wrinkle to all of this. There's also a debate about whether AI, kind of this big tech regulation, should take place exclusively at the federal level, or whether states should have some say in this as well. There's currently an effort to ban states from regulating AI for several years. I think that's been very controversial, rightfully so, as well. And so I expect these debates will continue playing out as well.
And finally, Zach, I want to get your thoughts on FBI Director Kash Patel. He has ended all FBI connections to the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, long overdue. Certainly on the Southern Poverty Law Center side, Chris. The Southern Poverty Law Center, they post a list of so-called hate groups that are often used to target conservatives. And let's be clear, the hate groups that they list are not ones that rightfully are labeled hate groups, but simply individuals who may have traditional values, believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. Many of groups that advocate for that position have been labeled hate groups. Many who advocate traditional religious positions have been labeled hate groups as well. And so it's really had a very pernicious effect. It has also allowed many of these groups to be targeted for violence, frankly, over the years. And so to see the FBI moving away from partnering with the Southern Poverty Law Center in particular, that is a very good thing. And I'm glad the FBI director is choosing to do that.
And that is Zack Barry White Smith, Senior Legal Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org. On X, he's at TZ Smith. Zack, great talking to you as always, and take care of yourself, and we'll speak with you next week.
Thanks, Chris. Great talking with you as well.
Thank you, my friend. All right, Zack Smith there. A little under the weather. You were right, Zoe. I thought he was going to sound a little nasally or something. I didn't know he had gotten the I didn't know he had the Barry White voice going on there. Zack almost didn't even sound like him, didn't it? Sound like a completely different person.
I'm going to miss it. I didn't know I wanted that until I heard it.
All right. Coming up, Chris's Corner. Be careful what you wish for. I'll tell you what that's about next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have rain chances Thursday and Friday. Friday looks like the more widespread day, but still a chance Thursday, and some of it could be heavy, especially south of St. Louis in the morning hours. So watch for some heavy rain, mainly south in the morning, low 47. In the afternoon, a few scattered showers and a high of 60 degrees. Friday, more widespread rain, heaviest in the morning to early afternoon and a high of 60 degrees. Still a few lingering showers possible into the evening, but it does dry out for the weekend. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
I listen to News Talk STL on the app driving to work.
Download the News Talk STL app.
You got to get the News Talk STL app.
Love the app. Can listen anywhere in St. Louis.
And listen anytime.
News Talk STL right on my phone.
Anywhere.
Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. Tim Jones here to tell you I should know. I have been a patient of theirs for nearly 2 decades. They have assisted not only myself, but many of my family members, my friends, my colleagues, my neighbors, just about everybody I've referred to Comprehensive Chiropractic, which you can find at chiropractic.com, has been absolutely ecstatic with the results. Man, what's not to love? Doctors Fader, Benton, Gorman delivering that awesome chiropractic care and so much more. They got the beautiful studio upstairs. You want to get in shape as we head into the holiday season and the new year. They've got Pilates, yoga, and many other disciplines. Certified experienced instructors, small classes for personal attention. It's a beautiful space too. Big, huge skylights and so much more. Licensed massage therapists. And speaking of end of the year, beginning of another, why not sign up and check out one of their personal trainers? This is not for the lifestyles of the rich and famous. This is something that's affordable for everyone, and it will fit within your schedule. If you need that holistic, whole body makeover, who doesn't these days? They've got that as well for you. And they can take care of all your nutritional needs. Man, top to bottom, stem to stern, comprehensive chiropractic at chiropractic.com. Comprehensive chiropractic at chiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
With Larry Connors USA, you get news, analysis, opinion, and education.
Larry Connors USA.
Now weeknights 6 until 8
on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Out of Harvard, where the university is launching an investigation into its former university president, Larry Summers. According to the school's newspaper at Harvard, this probe will examine Summers' relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, along with Epstein's ties to others that are associated with the university. That includes Summers' wife and nearly a dozen other current and former Harvard affiliates. All of the people listed were implicated in the trove of Epstein emails that were released just last week.
449 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Joey, it's amazing that you can have a lot of money and how it can clean you up within society, even though you're a pedophile and you like very young girls and you've been convicted and been arrested. But if you got a lot of money, you can still be respectable.
Yeah, like the Sackler family with the opioid epidemic. They would just put their name on all these museums and universities, and then people had to respect them.
That's something I'm going to talk to Zack about that one of the. I don't understand that case because if you're selling a legal product and people abuse that product and unfortunate overdose deaths happen and people abuse it, why are they responsible? What is the rationale? What's the legal rationale to make them responsible because somebody abused their product?
I guess they were going to all the doctors
Mhm.
and paying them off to say that it
Is
wasn't.
that what it was?
And they
Okay.
said it wasn't addictive, but it really was addictive.
Okay, because I never really delved deep into the details of that. I just
Mhm.
looked on the surface. I'm like, you're selling a legal product. And it's drugs, and people get addicted to drugs. And why are you held liable because these people became addicts? But if they were doing that, then I can understand that.
Yeah, they put a special coating on the pills that made them say it's not addictive, but the coating didn't actually work the way they intended it.
Okay, thank you. Did you go to law school?
No, I watched a couple documentaries. That's about it.
All right.
If it's in a movie form, I could talk about politics a little
There
bit.
you go. There you go. All right. Before we get to Chris's Corner, I just want to remind everyone that News Talk STL has teamed up with the St. Louis County Republican Central Committee for a food drive benefiting the charity Feed My People. The food drive goes through December 21st. All of the Big Red Holiday barrels can be found at all three Bartolino locations, the one on Big Bend, South Lindbergh, and in Sulphur Avenue on the Hill. Both Chris's Pancake and Dining locations on Southwest Avenue, that's the original one, and the Docket at 100 North Tucker, and all three Michael's Flooring outlet locations there in Creve Coeur, St. Peter's, and in Darden Prairie. Plus, we have a Red Barrel outside of our News Talk STL studios right here in the Westport area. So if you have non-perishable goods or even toys for the children for Christmas, bring those, drop them off. They would be much appreciated. And as we all know, next week is Thanksgiving. And in a few weeks before we know it, it'll be Christmas. And so I know that the News Talk STL audience are very caring, very giving audience. And I know that you guys are going to come through and help out Feed My People, feed the people. All right, Joy, let's do a little Chris's Corner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
As you heard there in that clip, Harvard has opened a fresh investigation into Larry Summers. This was first reported by the school newspaper, the Harvard Crimson, after lawmakers released a trove of documents, which included emails Epstein exchanged with Summers, in which the former Harvard president and economics professor asked Epstein for advice on seducing a younger female economist. Oh, boy. And the emails continued until Epstein's arrest in July 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges. Summer is also being investigated by the Trump administration department and stepped down from the board of OpenAI on Wednesday. So, wow, that's a very damaging email. He's asking a pedophile on how he can seduce a younger female economist, and Larry Summers was married, so I'm sure his wife wasn't too pleased about that. Another person that has gotten caught up in the Jeffrey Epstein saga is Delegate Stacey Plaskett. She is a Democrat from the Virgin Islands. There was a move yesterday to have her censored by the House. The Democrats turning on their own, trying to censor her. But Republicans came to her aid, and the censor did not pass. The reason why Republicans came to her aid is because the Democrats are looking to censor a Republican member, and so they didn't want that person to be censored, so they blocked it. Representative or Delegate Plaskett said, quote, "I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth." Yeah, that's what it's all. That's the ticket. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do. She also admitted that, quote, she probably would not have asked Trump fixer Michael Cohen about former Trump executive assistant Rona Graff if Epstein had not mentioned it to her in their text exchange. So, boy, if you're busted, just own up to it. Stop making excuses, because what's that old saying? Once you're digging, stop digging, because you're only digging yourself into a further hole. Got the latest polling here. The Democrats are looking pretty good in these polls. A new NPR PBS News Marist poll of registered voters has Democrats holding a 14-point lead over Republicans in the generic congressional ballot ahead of next year's midterm elections. A survey of 1,400 voters found that 55% of voters would back a Democratic candidate if the congressional elections were held today, while 41% would back a Republican. 3% of those surveyed said they back a different candidate. The 14-point lead marks the Democrats' largest advantage on this question since 2017. Another national poll out from Marquette Law School finds that 49% of registered voters expect to vote for a Democrat and 44% expect to vote for a Republican in the 2026 midterms. Among those who say they're certain to vote, 53% say they'd cast their ballot for a Democrat, while 44% said the same for Republicans. 44% of Democratic voters say they were very enthusiastic about voting in the midterm elections next year, compared with just 26% of Republican voters who said the same. That's according to a Reuters Ipsos poll. And this is a poll from Equus, finds that the president has lost most of his 2024 gains with Latino voters, but Democrats haven't won those voters back, though. Yet only 45% of Latino voters view Democrats favorably. Now, sounds like a lot of bad news, I know, there with the polls. But as people always say, especially political professionals, polls are just a snapshot in time. We saw how quickly the Democrats' fortunes changed after the Tuesday elections, where they swept those three important elections. And then the next day, they imploded when Chuck Schumer and the Democrats agreed to reopen the government and ticked off their base. So polling right now does not look well for Republicans. I think that's a huge reason why a lot of Republicans and congressional leaders are calling for the president to get out among the people, travel the country, and talk about the economic plan and the big, beautiful bill and all the benefits that it's going to give to the people. Polling looks bad right now for Republicans, but it's just a snapshot in time. Do not panic yet. And that is Chris's Corner. Coming up, my partner, Tim Jones, is going to join us from California. He's going to give us the Speaker Stump speech, of course. Then we're going to speak with Shawn Carney. He's CEO of 40 Days for Life. We've had him on a couple of times. You're not going to believe this, but Silicon Valley billionaires are trying to genetically engineer, quote-unquote, better babies. Does it get any sicker than that? You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here, and for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service, from 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products. 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Bernie Bennett in Washington. Former FBI Director James Comey asked a judge to dismiss the Justice Department's lawsuit against him. White House correspondent Greg Cluxton reports. During a Wednesday court hearing, the Justice Department admitted the grand jury that charged Comey wasn't presented with a copy of the final indictment. Comey's lawyers say that lapse is grounds for dismissal of the case. Government lawyers deny that the prosecution against Comey was vindictive or selective. The former FBI director has pleaded not guilty to charges accusing him of making a false statement and obstructing Congress, and has denied any wrongdoing. Greg Clugston, Washington. As the Supreme Court weighs President Trump's use of global tariffs, GOP Senator Dave McCormick of Pennsylvania says he hopes the justices will allow the president to retain his tariff authority.
I come down just on the common sense view that these truly are national security risk, and the president needs to have the authority to protect America's interest. Then as a second, just practical matter, are we going to knock the president's legs out from under him in the middle of these negotiations when he's, getting much better agreements and protecting America's interests?
Senator McCormick is interviewed by the Sailor Radio Network. Britain warned Russia on Wednesday that it was ready to deal with any incursions into the territory after the spy ship Yantar was detected on the edge of the UK waters north of Scotland. At a briefing, Defense Secretary John Healey outlines Britain's response.
We deployed a Royal Navy frigate and RAF P-8 planes to monitor and track this vessel's every move, during which the Yantar directed lasers at our pilots.
This story is developing and it can be followed at townhall.com. Federal agents have now arrested more than 250 people during an immigration crackdown in North Carolina near the city of Charlotte. This is more stories at townhall.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-2341. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-2341. That's 800-575-2341. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have rain chances Thursday and Friday. Friday looks like the more widespread day, but still a chance Thursday, and some of it could be heavy, especially south of St. Louis in the morning hours. So watch for some heavy rain, mainly south in the morning, low 47. In the afternoon, a few scattered showers and a high of 60 degrees. Friday, more widespread rain, heaviest in the morning to early afternoon and a high of 60 degrees. Still a few lingering showers possible into the evening, but it does dry out for the weekend. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
It's that time of year. Pumpkin spice in the air, flannel everywhere, and Hallmark movies playing nonstop. All that's missing? A mattress that feels like a warm hug. Black Friday sales are on at Snooze. Save up to $500 on Tempur-Pedic Smart Base sets or melt into $600 off a Beauty Rest Black. We'll match it to your perfect bed with real Mayo Clinic pressure mapping because your sleep deserves a love story too. Locally owned, comfort obsessed. Come find your happily ever after in mattress form. If you don't snooze, you lose.
This is what's happening.
What New Yorkers are looking for is an era of consistency.
It's common sense or communism. Actual policies don't have a lot of support.
We are not the crazy ones.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
And eggs are way down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. I mean, Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some real mental problems. And there's something wrong with him. It's just sweet. I'd be honest. I'd love to fire his ass. He should be fired. Guy's grossly incompetent. And he should be sued for spending $4 billion to build a little building. I'm building a ballroom that's going to cost a tiny fraction of that, and it's bigger than the whole thing put together.
5:06 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, and I don't think that Jerome Powell is going to be on President Trump's Christmas card list this year. Welcome back to the show. If you're watching the stream live, you see my partner there, Tim Jones, there in sunny Southern California. Tim, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, Chris. Hello, Joey. Hello, everybody at News Talk STL Nation. It is bright and sunny here in the desert, in the high desert in Southern California, as you might expect.
You play any golf today?
Not today. Today was meeting day. So out here with Grover Norquist and Americans for Tax Reform and coalition leaders from all over the country. Chris, been learning about all sorts of tax regulation and reform measures. Did a bunch of roundtable and breakout sessions this morning, and just a great opportunity once a year to fellowship and network with folks who are trying to carry the freedom and liberty message all across the country.
Well, speaking of reform, you hear the president, not too kind words for the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell. I think his term ends in January. There's a lot of speculation on who may take his spot. The president has said that he already knows who he's going to choose. He could be just posturing. Who knows? One of the people that's been thrown around as a possible Fed chair is the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. But he said he doesn't want that job. I don't blame him. You know, you can't speak out on stuff. You're kind of put off to the side. He wants to be in the middle of the action and be Treasury Secretary. So I don't blame him not wanting that job at all.
Yeah, it's a shame. It sounds like a really thankless job. I think Scott Bessent would do a much better job than Jerome Powell. He seems like he has a better handle on the economy. But again, you can't say much. You have to be very careful with your words. And it seems like half the country is always happy with you and the other half is always upset and furious. So Scott Bessent likely will remain at Treasury, I think, if we had to bet.
Speaking of the economy, Tim, I know that you follow the stock market as well as I do. And you know the last few days it has not been doing that well. People are concerned about the AI bubble bursting. You know, we had the economic forecast breakfast Royal Bank put on yesterday. And we had an economist from the St. Louis Fed. He's retired. But he put up a slide showing that if the AI bubble does burst, that he's predicting that the stock market could go down 53%, half of its value. I know you've been in meetings all day. One of the things that people that watch the market are looking at is how NVIDIA's earnings did today. They were going to disclose their earnings at the end of the session today. Have you heard anything? I have not seen anything on their earnings.
I have. Chris, as you were talking, I did a quick, boy, I'll tell you what, Google AI, man, it's on top of it. Here's some good news, Chris, for the market. The market had a slight, very slight, it has not erased the losses that you described over the last few days, but the market was up just a touch today for all the indices. This may spur the market higher tomorrow morning as NVIDIA exceeds revenue expectations for third quarter earnings. Totally agree with you. And you know who else agrees with you? the one and only Paul Kurtman. I heard Paul's update. He's on several of our shows, and I heard his update, and he is like a prophet. He predicted this. He said, we are going through a much needed, Paul called it a much needed market correction.
I agree.
There's been a bit of over speculation, according to Paul, in the AI, chip making, high tech world. He said, we don't want to experience the .com bubble burst like we did in 2000. So Paul thinks that this correction, which has, it's been significant, but it hasn't been catastrophic. He said it's better to go through these corrections from time to time so you don't have a giant bubble burst. And that's exactly what happened over the last few days. So hopefully we've gotten through some of the correction territory. Hopefully this story about NVIDIA will reassure folks in the stock market world. And we'll see what happens tomorrow morning when they ring the bell at 9:30 Eastern.
Yeah, I think it will, because people were looking at NVIDIA to see where the market was going, how the economy was doing. People were a little jittery because the big Japanese investment bank, SoftBank, sold its NVIDIA stake last week for billions of dollars. And people were kind of wondering, do they know something that we don't know? Why are they selling out when this is the most expensive company in the world right now? So I know a lot of investors, including me and you, are giving a sigh of relief that NVIDIA's earnings beat expectations. And I think the market will reflect that tomorrow.
Yeah, Peter Thiel, the very famous billionaire, conservative, Republican supporting investor, Chris, he also sold a big chunk of his NVIDIA earnings. Is this people taking profits? Is this people worried about the long term? Look, NVIDIA, which is a great American company, is definitely competing with communist China. And we look, not just for our 401ks, but for our future national security interests, we should want NVIDIA to ultimately succeed in the long term, because they are at the leader of the pack when it comes to competing against China's AI. And many folks, including the NVIDIA CEO, have said that he's worried about where China is on AI development as opposed to the U.S. And this is the arms race, right? This is the new arms race of the 2020s. And for the sake of all of our futures, you better hope that the world's leader of freedom and democracy wins this over communist China.
Tim, I know you've been in meetings all day and can't follow the news too closely, but I'm sure you did hear about, I hope you've heard, I think that you heard, I don't know, about the potential peace deal that's worked out between Ukraine and Russia. The president has a 28-point plan that he has released. We have a 4-star generals and the secretary of the army. They're heading over to Kiev currently to talk to Zelensky. The reports, and Donald Trump has said that we could have the end of this war by the end of this week or at the end of this month. Your thoughts on that?
Well, look, in all seriousness, can we all put aside those of us who have Trump derangement syndrome? Not us, but the people we talk about all the time. Can we put that aside? Can we put aside the never Trumper attitude? And Chris, can we recognize that if this conflict also resolves on the heels of Donald Trump achieving greater peace in the Middle East than any other U.S. president before him, convincing the UN of all places to rubber stamp the Gaza peace deal. So we've got peace in the Middle East, a potential beginning of the end of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Chris, in all seriousness, why doesn't this president become a leading candidate for the Nobel Peace Prize next year?
I got to tell you, and it's very good. I mean, the president has talked about 8 or 9 wars have been stopped. Peace is breaking out all over the world because of his actions. But a lot of the supporters of President Trump here back home domestically are wanting him to, they applaud his efforts, but they are wanting him to focus more on domestic issues and trying to shore up the economy and lower prices. There has been talk that some Republican consultants have said that the president needs to get out on the road and visit some American cities and talk about his plans to lower prices and talk about the benefits of the big, beautiful bill and what that is doing for Americans. I've always been a big believer that you can chew gum and walk at the same time.
I think that peace, security, and ending conflict around the globe is the number one issue right now, because you can't focus on other things while you have the world in flames. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris helped create a lot of these catastrophes. However, once the Russia-Ukraine issue has been a thorn in Donald Trump's side ever since he has personally said he has been aggravated at how difficult that is. So I think that if that is now out of his purview for the immediate future, he does need to turn to national economic issues, because that, as we know, that's what American voters are going to largely decide their decisions upon coming into the midterms. And there's a lot to crow about, right? There is a massive economic re-reckoning in this country, and Donald Trump needs to be absolutely firm about where the quote affordability crisis that Democrats have invented, that phrase, where it came from. I saw a report yesterday. Nearly 90% of the inflation that we've experienced in the U.S. over the last decade was caused by the 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So you need to put the blame where it's due, and then you need to talk about all the ways you're erasing that inflation and all the good things that you're doing for Americans. And if the economy can continue to turn, GDP growth can continue to surge, wages can continue to rise, all these things are actually happening right now. Yes, that's the message you have to pound home next summer and early fall, heading into those very important November midterms.
And the Epstein files, the Epstein case is still taking out victims, especially on the Democratic side. It was announced yesterday, that Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary under Obama, former president of Harvard, he announced that he is stepping out of public life. He's trying to repair his reputation. But some emails have been exchanged came out that Summers was having email exchanges with Epstein, asking Epstein how he could seduce a younger economics professor. Probably bad news. Probably his wife didn't want to hear that. Harvard has opened an investigation into Larry Summers. I want to ask you, how long do you think he'll have tenure at Harvard after this investigation starts? And he has quit, speaking of artificial intelligence, he has quit the board of OpenAI, which is the parent company of ChatGPT. Well, it's amazing watching his career. I don't agree with him politically, of course, but it's kind of sad and amazing watching his career implode in just 2 days like this, and reputation.
Newsflash. Some ultra powerful, ultra rich, ultra elitist people in this world are unfortunately complete sick wacko perverts. I mean, that's kind of what the story about. This story is very titillating, I know, to some. I frankly have grown weary of talking about it because it doesn't affect my world one way or the other. It reminds me of that movie, Joey knows it, the famous Stanley Kubrick film, Eyes Wide Shut, which was about a similar kind of thing. I wonder if Epstein inspired that, or if Epstein was inspired by that. I think that look, the Larry Summers thing is proof positive. Democrats are now going to rue the firestorm that they have created, and they likely will not get their main target in all of this, which was Donald Trump, of course, but they're going to do a lot of damage to their people in the meantime. I continue to be very worried and concerned about the victims in this situation, in this mad rush to release all these files. I just hope other innocent lives aren't affected and hurt.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Tim, we know that the president has sent troops into Memphis, Tennessee. He has sent troops into Charlotte, North Carolina. The heirs of Charlotte's Web are pissed off because that was called Operation Charlotte's Web. Liberals are always upset about something. Then it was announced today that there's going to be an operation in New Orleans, which is another Democratic city. They're dubbing this Swamp Sweep in New Orleans. Do you have any thoughts on Swamp Sweep?
Yeah, I actually do. I just spoke with yesterday one of my colleagues who works for JP Morgan Chase in government affairs world there. She's from Louisiana. Parents are from there, and her brother lives in Memphis. So she was actually telling me about the crime situation in both of those cities. And she said for normal, sane, law-abiding Americans, of which she has family members in both cities, they are thrilled that somebody is finally doing something about the out-of-control crime. And I think the Memphis mayor, who's a Democrat, has actually been working with federal forces on this. Maybe one of the few Democratic mayors in the country.
Yeah.
But look, Chris, these are great cities, right? New Orleans, Memphis. They got so much history, but they're not, the Democrats have ruined them over the last 50, 60 years. And we should be all thanking Donald Trump and Republicans for finally caring enough to do something about it.
I agree. All right, Tim, we've got a very interesting guest who we've had on many times, Shawn Carney. He's CEO of 40 Days to Life. We're talking about these sick people practicing Margaret Sanger's eugenics, trying to have designer babies, which is supposed to be illegal. We're going to talk to Shawn Carney from 40 Days for Life about that next. Don't go anywhere, Tim. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have rain chances Thursday and Friday. Friday looks like the more widespread day, but still a chance Thursday, and some of it could be heavy, especially south of St. Louis in the morning hours. So watch for some heavy rain, mainly south in the morning, low 47. In the afternoon, a few scattered showers and a high of 60 degrees. Friday, more widespread rain, heaviest in the morning to early afternoon and a high of 60 degrees. Still a few lingering showers possible into the evening, but it does dry out for the weekend. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey everyone, it's Todd Showalter with my buddy Joey V. Be sure to join me and Joey for the Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Saturdays at 5, right here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, are you looking for a good dentist? Want to have a great smile for the holidays? I want to tell you about my experience with the Dental Link in Baldwin. Dr. Link and his team, they're true pioneers in modern dental implant dentistry. I went through the mini dental implant process myself, and I can tell you firsthand, it was less invasive, it was less painful, and the recovery time was so much quicker than I ever expected. And I'm not the only one in my family who trusts Dr. Link. My wife, even my father-in-law, who just moved to town at the early beginning of the year, are patients too, which tells you how much confidence we have in the Dental Link. If you're missing a tooth or struggling with loose dentures, many dental implants may be the solution you've been waiting for. And here's the best part. They cost much less than traditional implants. The Dental Link is a state-of-the-art facility right on Manchester Road in Baldwin, offering everything from cosmetic dentistry to implants. Take it from me and my family. If you want your smile back with confidence, call the Dental Link today at 314-794-6464 or visit dentallink.com.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the Clear Path Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Higher and higher, baby. It's a living thing. It's a terrible thing to lose.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
But most people who get a baby, it is linked inextricably to having sex with your spouse. And you're saying it's time to sever that for the sake, I concede, of potential medical benefits. I'm just saying, I think pretty clearly something that like poets write about would go away.
Yeah, I think that sex is a beautiful thing. And I think that if you have, enormous genetic privilege, and for you to roll the dice and to get a, outcome that isn't going to lead to disease is in the cards for you, then of course, go ahead and roll the dice. It's just that I think that the vast majority of parents in the future are not going to want to roll the dice with their child's health. They're going to see it as, taking the maximum amount of care, the maximum amount of love, in the same way that they, plan their nursery, plan their home, plan their preschool.
526 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Tim, if I didn't know any better, that sounds like an AI conversation. I mean, that can't be two real people or a real person actually talking like that. Amazing.
Oh my goodness. Especially the female lead there. I would hope not. It sounds like we're heading towards some bizarre, godless future, in total. Unbelievable.
Genetic privilege. I've heard it all now. All right. On the line with us is Shawn Carney. He's CEO of 40 Days for Life. Shawn, how are you, my friend?
Good. How are you, gentlemen?
This is just crazy. I mean, the point I was thinking about this when that clip was going on is the point that they're missing here is that sex is not just some mechanical thing that you do to have babies and hope that you roll the dice and get a healthy child. It's a function of marriage where two people love each other, and it's an act of love. It's not just some biological system there. And these people are trying to kind of make it into that. What's your thoughts?
You guys live in the past. You're too old fashioned. I feel like with that clip, they need to like dangle the sign that says Nuremberg trial.
Exactly.
Behind her as she's answering that. You're like, are you saying this out loud into a microphone? This comes from we don't want the burden of children. We certainly don't want sick kids or genetically disadvantaged kids. And we want to create our own kids, and we want to create the perfect baby. And this is inevitable when you have sort of this IVF surrogacy. The baby is a commodity, like a nice purse, and that purse needs to be perfect with no stains on it. And so we're going to find a way to create our own baby. And, this definitely, I know the two founders are these two, homosexual men. And there's no doubt that the homosexual movement has been quite successful in influencing the adoption process and IVF. And I just think this ties into, we don't want imperfect babies, and we want perfect babies, and we have the technology to do that.
Shawn, we often have referred to the left over the past many years, maybe decades now, as a bunch of godless communist Marxists, but the Babylon Bee couldn't run that as a tweet, could they, Shawn? Because it would actually be true. And I don't think it's a joke any longer. I mean, it seems that these people think that everything is an accident, and the arrogance of their attitude is that only human beings can fix things. And so they want us to engage in some kind of robotic, sterile future. I mean, but then don't you wonder, like, to what end, right? Like, if you all think that human beings are the be all end all, and there is no greater being, whatever that greater being might be, then why are you bothering with all of this in the first place, right?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is heaven on earth, right? That's ultimately what she's talking about. Disease is awful. We don't like to see our loved ones suffer, and we need to make heaven on earth. In order to do that, we need to have, we need to fix the genes because we have some flaws. Because, hey, we're above getting sick. We're above suffering. That stuff was for our ancestors, and we're not going to go through with it. What's shocking is when she says, and true love is not having those things. And it's like, that's the opposite. True love is taking care of your sick spouse when she's paralyzed. True love is taking care of your child with Down syndrome. That's true love, not doing everything in your power to get rid of their Downs before they even exist. It's very condescending. It's very dangerous. I think this is one of those red flags that will that is getting a lot of attention. I'm glad the Wall Street Journal did this article on it. I think it shocks a lot of people, even people that are, genuinely support abortion rights. They look at this and go, okay, we're starting to get a little nuts here with trying to engineer the perfect baby.
And besides, if we can engineer these perfect physical babies, is there any guarantee that they won't grow up to be psychopaths or serial murderers?
Are you saying we're not able to do it? You're questioning us? How dare you? Well, there's another aspect to that. I mean, as you guys know, I have 8 kids. Where is the fun in a genetically engineered perfect kid? That actually sounds like hell. I mean, I like it when my kids say stuff that they're probably really not supposed to say, but everybody's thinking it, or, they mess up and we got to correct them, or teaching them to work and they complain, or they're wearing a hoodie when it's 98 degrees outside. Where's the fun in life if all your kids are little perfect Terminators?
And Shawn, what about, there are plenty of not just ethical, religious, and moral concerns. Isn't there also concerns of experimentation gone wild, experimentation gone wrong? I mean, look at all of the science fiction over the last 20 years that's become science fact. And, when we talk about stuff like this, I think about some of the famous or infamous movies that portrayed examples of this. The Island of Dr. Moreau. The third, was it the Alien Resurrection, right? Crossing human DNA with the super killer. How about not The Shining, the other Stephen King, The Stand, right? With the release of the biological agents. I mean, because we are human beings dabbling in this kind of God science, I mean, there's plenty that could go wrong with all this too, right?
100%. I mean, you just look at Jurassic Park. That was kind of the first big example of, when you mess with nature, it eats you on a toilet, literally, and the T-Rex. And, we just don't believe any of that. Heck, we're repeating it with Terminator 2. I mean, when Skynet nukes us, we're going to be like, I wish we would have had a 1991 Arnold movie to warn us about this. Oh, wait. And so I do the heaven on earth mentality, which is what eugenics is built on. It's what abortion is built on. It's what you will find at the heart of every Planned Parenthood talking point, and what, the Nazis and the Russians bragged about, that we will form the perfect race. We will alleviate suffering, and we will, feed the common good. That always leads to killing people. And, the desecration of the human person is about control. And if you can use control to kill a baby at 40 weeks or 6 weeks, you can certainly use control to create a baby. And that's what we're seeing. And you're right. It's not merely a moral or religious argument. That's the easy part. This is what it means to be human. I mean, this lady, she needs to go on a romantic date. Don't we want to have candles and relationships and marriages and honeymoons and get married and have sex and have babies? I mean, isn't that the human experience? And they want to annihilate that. I mean, what kind of a lunatic would bring that up?
Speaking with Shawn Carney, CEO of 40 Days for Life. What I find really ironic here, Shawn, is the left and the environmentalists, they have a conniption fit over gene-modified crops, but they have no problem with gene-modified humans. Can you reconcile that for me?
Yeah, I guess they'd also probably freak out if you ate a nacho cheese Dorito in front of them. They'd say how unnatural that is. But there's many levels to that. And look, we all worship nature and love nature and want to protect the environment and the natural flow of the ozone and the environment until it comes to our own procreation. Then we would control every aspect of that. And according to this lady, she wants to annihilate all human relationships and sex and marriage and everything else. She would be miserable to watch a rom-com with, that's for sure. But I think that this dehumanization that we're seeing has to get more creative. And look, this is in the context, and this is where I think this comes from in all seriousness, from the progress of the pro-life movement. And, we're seeing, now 26 states that have banned abortion or highly regulated abortion. We saw 64 Planned Parenthoods close in our country, and they are, sort of shifting, and we've seen this on other fronts, towards no, we support life. We don't hate babies. We don't hate science. In fact, We are going to use science to make the perfect babies. And this was just not on the table 5 years ago whatsoever for the left.
Shawn, I want to further follow up on a point you just made as to the dehumanization of the culture. I mean, Shawn, isn't this latest foray, this latest bad idea from the progressive left and a long line of bad ideas? It's in line with their overall theme, isn't it? Of basically depopulating the planet, or only populating the planet with a few perfect uber elitist human beings, right? I mean, that's from Margaret Sanger to today's dehumanization that we've been discussing during the segment. I mean, that's kind of been the goal of the uber left, right? They don't like this whole messy, idea that humans should go forth and populate and prosper, right? It's all got to be controlled by them. It's all got to be in what they view as the perfect new world order.
Oh yeah, and it's done with the best of intentions, as many evil things are, and you see it as Planned Parenthood and Marie Stopes, the abortion provider in England, and the Bill Gates Foundation. They go into Africa, they go into Latin America, and they say, yes, you're black, you're brown, you're Catholic, you don't like contraception, you don't like abortion, but man, you're breeding a lot, and you're broke. I mean, you're really broke. You need to quit having kids, and then we'll get you, some Levi's and an iPhone, and it's going to be really great. And that's the thing. And anytime, I just got back from Mexico City, we had about 400 of our Latin American leaders. And I always say to them, Latin America hates America for the wrong reasons. It's not immigration. It's our culture that comes down here and forces abortion and contraception on you, when you love God and you love family. And that is certainly this condescending elitist attitude that we have. And it goes full circle, right? So we're overpopulated. So we need abortion and contraception. This was out of the 20s and 30s. We got the population bomb in the 60s. It scared the hell out of everybody. And so, that was the problem. Well, now we're in a demographic winter. So their solution is, hey, we got a lot of labs, we can create babies, and we'll create the perfect babies. And it's going to reduce healthcare costs, and it's going to reduce, crime and all these other things. And it is textbook eugenics, and they're just not really hiding it. And I'm confident things like this just won't get off the ground, honestly.
And, they may be able to come up with these perfect babies, gene engineered babies, but nothing is guaranteed. And I just asked the next question: what happens if the child does get sick, or you don't get exactly what you want? Do you get your money back? Are you able to kill the child? What's the next step?
So that's the question that you ask at Thanksgiving dinner when it comes up, and everybody just looks at the person on each side of them like, who's going to answer that? Because the answer is, well, I don't know. I'm afraid that they'll just kill them, and that's the answer, because when perfection doesn't deliver, as it often doesn't, it never can on the human level, we can have a zero tolerance policy if we're controlling all life and we don't respect human life. So that's the scariest thing, is what happens when you do get sick? What happens when your little calculator was wrong and the kid has spina bifida? So now what? And we see that with surrogacy. We see that where the kid ends up having Downs, and the parents, are trying to pay the mom who's carrying the baby to have an abortion, and they end up in court. That happens very often, where they're trying to bribe a woman $10,000 to abort their baby because the baby had spina bifida. So, I think that look, playing God is a full-time job, and nobody has enough time for it. It leads to one hell after another. And this is just the next example. It's also just not a positive. I mean, her comment is so depressing. We want to get rid of romance. We want to get rid of marriage. We want to get rid of sex. We want to get rid of babies coming from sex. And that's why I get the sense there's a little bit of a homosexual agenda. They're the only ones that can't create children through sex, but some of them want babies. And so a lot of this has come from their movement focusing on this issue. But obviously they're not fully to blame. But her comments are extremely alarming. And I think they're countercultural even in 2025.
Hey, Shawn, as the president and CEO of 40 Days for Life, give our listeners a little national overview update as to what is going on in the pro-life movement writ large. Shawn, I've noticed that the left and the progressives and the Democrats aren't talking about this issue much on the national or federal level because of the decision in Dobbs returning most of those decisions back to the states. They're not able to use that they're not able to use it as a political cudgel anymore, which is a great thing. But how are things going now that the battlegrounds are back in the 50 laboratories of democracy?
Yeah, they're going great, and it's because of what you said. So when Dobbs overturned Roe, the left did try to use abortion, saying this is our ticket to 2022. This is our ticket for Kamala, beating evil Donald Trump. And when she failed and failed miserably by trying to run on sort of celebrating abortion and doing abortions at the DNC, and everybody thought that was kind of weird, and nobody wants to celebrate abortion. It's a negative to run on, not a positive. So I think when she lost, you saw a shift. And I believe, along with the transgender movement, which has made great progress, the left is trading boys and girls locker rooms and abortion for immigration as their cultural moral crusade. And that's why you're seeing the emphasis on immigration, because being pro-abortion politically has become a loser. And even the Washington Post had a very good article on that. I do think you're seeing a shift. We have 26 states that have passed pro-life laws versus 6 states that passed pro-abortion laws since the fall of Roe. There have been a record number, 64 Planned Parenthoods that have closed. We saw the flagship Manhattan Planned Parenthood close in New York. Saw Houston close, the largest in the world where I live. So our demand for 40 Days for Life is an all-time high. So we're busier than we've ever been, but it has been high tide for our mission for sure.
And finally, Shawn, gene-edited designer babies, it's banned by the U.S. and around the world, but we have these tech billionaires that are putting hundreds of millions of dollars into startups. How are they doing that if this is banned? How do they plan on getting around this, do you think?
Yeah, well, they have a number of things they've alluded to that can be a loophole with the healthcare system and eliminating disease. When you read into that, which they're pretty vague on, I just don't think it's going to pass. Congress and the Senate, I don't see, and certainly the Supreme Court. Look, people get weirded out when you talk about genetically engineering babies. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. It really doesn't. I mean, the majority of Americans are not crazy. And we see that with elections. We see it with just civil debate with people who aren't just crazy far left. And they don't want any part of this. Everybody has kids or grandkids or at least nieces and nephews and all of that. And they don't ultimately want them to come out of a test tube. We're still human beings. We still have, natural law, which many of us know comes from divine law. And we want the couple to fall in love and get married and have kids. We actually like the happy ever after, ending. And if their kids get sick, you know what? They're going to do what we all do and stay up all night and take care of their kids. And they're going to be better for doing so.
Exactly. How do you make Hallmark movies with designer kids? Where's the love? Where's the romance? You don't have
it.
Exactly. All right. That's Shawn Carney, CEO of 40 Days for Life, 40daysforlife.com. And on X, you can reach him at Carney Shawn. Shawn, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for the great work that you're doing trying to save babies. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, 5:43 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. One segment left, Tim. We're going to discuss, it's on my sheet somewhere. What was it, Joey? You got it? What am I talking about? Oh, Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy.
Uh-oh.
Miss Piggy was possibly, Miss Piggy was on Air Force One, I think. I'll give you more details about that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We have rain chances Thursday and Friday. Friday looks like the more widespread day, but still a chance Thursday, and some of it could be heavy, especially south of St. Louis in the morning hours. So watch for some heavy rain, mainly south in the morning, low 47. In the afternoon, a few scattered showers and a high of 60 degrees. Friday, more widespread rain, heaviest in the morning to early afternoon, and a high of 60 degrees. Still a few lingering showers possible into the evening, but it does dry out for the weekend. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Mayela Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
So Jeffrey Epstein was a constituent. He was a resident of the Virgin Islands, lived there, I guess, more than half of the year because he was registered there. I had received donations from him. After the last investigation came out, which was after this texting, I gave any donations that I had previously received from him to women's organizations and did not have any contact with him. And I find it really interesting and almost rich that the Washington Post took 30 seconds, one set of question line that I did, and say that Epstein was directing me as to what to question Michael Cohen. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a real friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have.
547. Tim, what's that old saying in politics that when you're explaining, you're losing?
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's the phrase right there. And boy, was she explaining, as they say, till the cows come home. Yeah. Good grief.
Just let it go. All you need to do is say, I regret my association with him, and I've given all the money that he has given me to charity, and I have no further comment. That's how you answer that question. Don't stop explaining.
Nice, short, succinct statement that you prepare with your favorite political consultant. And that's what you say. And that's all you say. And then you say, okay, now let's talk about what's the troubles that are really plaguing this country. And you move on, you know?
There you
Holy cow.
Bad situation there. All right. Miss Piggy was on Air Force One, Tim, and I'll tell you more about that. Catherine Lucy. This is a Donald Trump story. 100%. Catherine Lucy, she's a Bloomberg White House correspondent. She had taken advantage of a press opportunity with the president, known as a gaggle, to ask a question about the unfolding Jeffrey Epstein scandal and the possibility of the House voting to release all of the files related to his case. As Lucy started to ask President Trump, was he behaving the way he was if there was nothing incriminating in the files, Trump pointed at her and said, quiet, Piggy.
Ooh.
Can you believe he did that?
There he goes again.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I tell you what, I think this second term of Trump has been much more disciplined. He's got much better people in the best places, but he's also Trump unleashed. Like when it comes to the media, zero. And you know what? Most of them deserve it. Zero patience, and the gloves are off, and he obviously doesn't care.
Exactly.
Wow.
Here's a story, Tim. Did you know that 1 in 5 Americans, 20% of Americans, say they want to leave the U.S. permanently, according to Gallup, a figure that's on par with last year's record. Women and girls aged 15 to 44 are driving the trend. You have any thoughts on young women wanting to leave the United States?
Well, more room for the rest of us. We'll have a little more elbow room, for those who think the country is overpopulated, which it's not. If you've ever been out west where I am, holy smokes, do we have giant swaths of nothing. But I'm happy to know, Chris, that my daughters definitely are not in that demographic. They love the United States of America. They appreciate the freedoms and liberties we have here. Yes, we've been very blessed to be able to show them other parts of the world, but everybody is always happy to come home. And Chris, where are you going to go? Okay, go try and practice your left-wing outspoken lunacy in some other country and see how far that gets you and how long you're allowed to do all the things that you're allowed to do in this country for which you have no repercussions, right? I mean, good luck trying to criticize other leaders and other ruling classes and other nations and see how far and how long that your words are allowed to be free.
Amen, brother. As noted, you are in Palm Springs, California at a Grover Norquist retreat. You'll be there over the weekend, I assume. Tell us what you're going to be doing and what you did today.
Yeah, Chris. So I'm here with Grover Norquist, president, founder, Americans for Tax Reform.
The man who never ages.
Chris, he never does. And guess what, Chris? You're not going to believe this. This will further prove that point. Next year, ATR, Americans for Tax Reform, is celebrating its 40th anniversary as an organization. They're hoping to do a big deal with the White House and all that. And if so, I'll definitely keep everybody posted on that. So once a year, the ATR gets all of the people that help them around the country. They call us coalition leaders. So I run a variety of meetings here in Missouri, and I oversee some meetings in Iowa and Kansas, where like-minded conservatives, anybody on the center-right side of the political spectrum, whether you consider yourself a pro-life conservative or Republican, maybe Second Amendment's your big thing, maybe you're a big tax cutter, we try to get everybody together once or twice a month and share what we're working on and how we can help each other out, right? Like we Republicans, we conservatives, we're really good about working really hard on stuff, but we're not always good about sharing what we're doing with others. And so that's the whole concept that Grover started in Washington, D.C. 40 years ago. And ATR now is one of the leading think tanks, public policy think tanks in the nation. So once a year, Chris, get everybody together from all over the country, folks like me from about 45 other states, policy people, government affairs specialists, basically a whole gaggle of folks in the freedom and liberty movement. Chris, we talk election integrity, which I know is a favorite subject of yours. Yes, we talk taxes. Today we talked about credit card interchange fees. I know that sounds boring, but but everybody uses one every day.
I've done red state articles on that.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that issue.
Yeah, they're trying to screw that up, of course, in Washington, D.C., because that's what they do. I think there's been somewhat of a resolution on that. So we talked about some of those issues. We talked about one of the panels that I got to lead today. It was pretty exciting, was about how to incorporate former legislators in the public policy world. Like when you term out or you go your separate ways, like, don't just like leave the movement, like remain engaged, start a radio station,
right.
Volunteer to help out on campaigns, maybe start your own business. And, it's tough. It's not as easy as just going and being a lobbyist for, I don't know, some big giant tech company. I'm sure that that's very lucrative, but, are you part of the movement anymore? So that's one of the things we talked about today. That was pretty cool. And so, yeah, it's a whole potpourri of like different subjects. And it's great hearing people from all over the country who are working on many different matters share their experiences. Chris, the election integrity folks are here. Carrie Talisko, who works with Cleta Mitchell. They're here.
No, Cleta.
And so, so that's what we do. So, don't worry. We have some fun as well. We have some great dinners, some time for fellowship. And it's nice that we're doing it against the backdrop of Southern California.
Have you guys talked about what is going to be the main focus for 2026, the midterms? Do you have 1, 2, 3 things that are specifically going to be focused on, or is it just generally what you all focus on already, or is there a specific focus?
Yeah, I would say, Chris, we also definitely, we don't try to just talk in lofty theories. We try to talk also about what's going on in the nuts and bolts in the nation. And it's what we're all talking about, right? It's returning the United States of America to a free market society where we get to practice economic freedom and liberty. And of course, that's against the backdrop of this affordability crisis that Democrats have termed, which they created. And so we also get into the it's not just public policy theory. That's a big chunk of it, but it's also political reality as well. Like how do you take these great public policy ideas, incorporate them into the states, right? I mean, look, Grover does a lot of work on the Hill with the federal government, but you and I both know that is ponderous. It takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slow moving machine. And so ATR is very involved in the states as well. That's where you see the most, that's where you see the quickest results. And Chris, ATR highlights the fact that yes, the red states continue to absolutely rock. When you look at states that are cutting taxes and reducing regulations and encouraging more free market opportunities versus the big blue states, which continue to absolutely bomb when it comes to encouraging wealth and prosperity. And it's proven by the migration numbers. And so, ATR tries to be a really solid, lean and mean public policy think tank, but they also try to offer ideas that can be implemented in state houses as well. They have a very lively government affairs team that works with me in the Midwest. Chris, you'll be happy to know a lot of young people. Consist of some of the state government leaders. It's great to see these folks in their 20s and 30s because I'm like, okay, eventually folks like Chris and I can retire
exactly.
and play more golf. And the young guns, there will be conservative young guns who will pick up the mantle.
Let me ask you this in the minute that we have left. I'm sure there's been a lot of talk, and this has been a pet issue of Grover's at the state income tax. Governor Kehoe announced a plan last week to eliminate the state income tax. I know that is a big deal for ATR. Has that come up? Has there been a lot of talk about that?
Yes, we've been talking about it. In fact, Chris, it was funny. It was a weird coincidence. The current majority leader here in the state of Missouri, Alex Riley, who's going to be the next speaker, reached out to me this morning, kind of not completely out of the blue. Alex and I know each other, but he reached out and he said, hey, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. next week. Who would you recommend I meet with? And I said, I suggest you swing by Americans for Tax Reform and go to the Grover meeting.
Yes.
And he said, that sounds like a great idea. So ATR, Chris, is very focused on what Governor Kehoe wants to do next year as far as reducing and eliminating our state income tax.
Oh, excellent. Well, you represent Missouri in News Talk STL out there in Palm Springs, Tim. Have safe weekend, safe travels. We'll see you back here Monday in the studio.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Joey. See you guys Monday.
You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Larry Connors USA is up next. Drive safe and have a great day. Great evening.
Tim Jones here. I am beyond thankful this Thanksgiving season for God, family, friends, country, and all of you in News Talk STL Nation.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and for this Thanksgiving season, I'm most thankful for good health for everyone, my family, my friends, and you.
News Talk STL, celebrating family and friends this season of Thanksgiving. Brought to you by Best Buy Flooring, DeGregorio's Food Products, and